Just an advanced apology, my cat will be in and out of this video, so yeah. She thinks I'm playing. Ah! Hello everyone, my name is Jazzy and welcome back to my channel. I've always wanted to tackle this type of video, but always just felt kind of unequipped to try. And I've reached the point where I could give less of a snap, crackle, pop about it, so let's do this. I was suggested this idea from a viewer that I could totally vibe with. Editing Jazzy here. I know they mention TV shows too, but admittedly, I don't watch a lot of 80s TV shows. The ones I've actually watched throughout the years are Quantum Leap, The Wonder Years, Saved by the Bell, Cheers, and Fraggle Rock. Also, if the cartoon shows count, the Alvin and Chipmunks TV show, The Real Ghostbusters, Jem and the Holograms, and Garfield and Friends. So yeah, not a lot. That's why I'm only focusing on movies. Okay, bye! But I wanted to counteract that, instead lean towards more like underrated 80s movies. Before I move on, I am not a proper critic. I took 2.5 film classes in college, and I still don't know anything. Plus, this is all subjective. This film list caters to my own personal movie taste. So lo and behold, my opinion will differ from yours. I mean, realistically, this video should be titled Movies from the 80s I would consider must-see gems and ones we need to talk about more. Most of them do have a prominent cult following, while others do not. And are all of these movies masterpieces? Absolutely not, but to me they are, because I love uncommon flicks and this is my video and I do what I want. I didn't really choose these movies based on genres or anything. I know most 80s must-see or underrated movies on YouTube are kind of by genre. It's just something that I noticed, and this one will just be like non-genre related. Like, these are just about movies that really stuck out to me. So if you don't mind me talking about different types of movies, no matter the genre or the audience that it was catered to, then you may proceed. For this type of video, I won't be going over the movies from a critical point of view, which means no spoilers or deep analysis. I will only be summarizing the movie's plots and some facts about it and my overall thoughts on the movie. I know there's plenty of underrated 80s movies out there that didn't make it to my list, but that is because I haven't seen them yet. Films like The Legend of Billie Jean, Dead End Drive-In, 3 O'Clock High, Streets of Fire, etc. Now, let's go ahead and talk about these silly little movies that invoke silly little emotions in me. This is my pick of the 9 underrated films of the 80s. Disclaimer: viewers' discretion is advised if you happen to watch any of these movies. Some may contain mature or sensitive subject matters, outdated attitudes, language, and cultural depictions that may upset or offend some viewers. I tried my best to include possible trigger warnings for each film. It's important for me to be considerate of your viewing experience. This was my most recently watched movie as I was putting this script together, and I was blown away by how great the ambiance and style were. I mean, it was a mess, but it was a beautiful mess of its time. Band of the Hand was released in 1986, and it is about 5 juvenile delinquents who are sent to an experimental rehabilitation program and trained by a Native American, hey, wait a minute, Vietnam vet in the Everglades. They learn to work together and survive. Then their skills are put to the test when they are sent to the Miami ghetto and form a vigilante squad to fight against a drug lord targeting them. The cast includes Stephen Lang, Michael Carmen, Lauren Holly, Leon Robinson, John Cameron Mitchell, Danny Quinn, Al Shannon, Paul Calderon, James Remar, and Larry Fishburne. Directed by Paul Michael Glaser, this was his first feature-length film. Beforehand, he was mainly an actor and directed TV shows. The music in this movie gave me an out-of-body experience that I can't totally describe. Some of the music was created for the movie, and the way that they use it for those specific scenes is incredible. Some artists include The Reds, Tiger Tiger, Shriek Back, Broken Wings by Mr. Mister, which is not officially on the album, but it is in the movie, and Bob Dylan, who wrote the titled song and was backed by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. It does say on the cover from the makers of Miami Vice, which is true. The director did the season 2 premiere of Miami Vice and episodes 6 and 16 of season 1. And the movie was under the production company of Michael Mann, the executive producer of Miami Vice. Needless to say, the style of the show is definitely in here and it is excellent. One more fact about this movie from the Wikipedia. It says, at the 1986 Stinkers Bad Movie Awards, the film was nominated for Worst Picture but lost to Howard the Duck.
What is that? That's a duck! That's a duck, man!
This next movie was a success at the box office and garnered a lot of positive reception for its talented cast and comedy. And I absolutely agree, because the whole cast acted their heart out to this really weird, chaotic, yet charming movie and left not a single crumb. Married to the Mob was released in 1988 about a mobster's wife who wants to leave the criminal lifestyle behind. Luckily, her husband is murdered and she flees Long Island with her son to start a new life in New York. However, the FBI has been conducting an undercover surveillance operation on the mafia boss and his family, and they get suspicious of her too. Then, one of the FBI agents gets assigned to monitor her and uses her to bring the mob boss down. What a star-studded cast! I can't name them all, but here are the notable ones, which include Michelle Pfeiffer, Matthew Modine, Robert D. Stockwell, rest in peace King, Mercedes Ruehl, Alec Baldwin, and Joan Cusack. I watched this movie so many times. I love it so much. It has so much emotional charm and heart to it. The movie has such a lovely romance and such a refreshing complexity to its main character. It keeps you well entertained. Also, the main love interest is Papa from Stranger Things. If you didn't know that, then there you go. You're welcome. Where has this movie been all my life? That's what I want to know. It boggles my mind how this isn't considered an 80s classic. The Heavenly Kid was released in 1985 and the story begins in the early 1960s. A cool greaser with a bold attitude agrees to a drag race and ends up in an accident. Now a ghost, he is stuck in limbo. Going back to Earth in the 1980s, he is assigned as a guardian angel to a nerdy teenager who is down on his luck. If the greaser successfully helps the teen, he can get his ticket to heaven, dubbed Uptown. The cast includes Lewis Smith, Jason Gedrick, Jane Kaczmarek, and Mark Metcalf. The soundtrack is excellent. It was produced by George Duke, who was a keyboardist, composer, singer-songwriter, and record producer. During the 1980s, he produced hit R&B and pop songs for artists such as Denise Williams, Melissa Manchester, the Pointer Sisters, Barry Manilow, Anita Baker, and Gladys Knight. On the soundtrack, there are about 10 songs and 4 other ones that, for possible copyright reasons, didn't make it onto the official soundtrack, but were in the movie. My favorite scenes in this movie is 100% the beginning and ending. However, I can't really talk about the ending without spoiling it, but the beginning is so bat crazy. The greaser's girlfriend is all like, "Be careful!" And he's like, "Don't worry, baby girl, I got this." And then he dies to the most blazing song. I could say a lot about this movie, but I already said most of it in my Letterboxd review, so I'm just gonna read from there. By the way, I have a Letterboxd if you're curious. Link is down below. This movie may be cheesy and plot a little predictable, but that's what I really love about this film. It made me laugh, cry, and smile so big. This movie felt truly magical and had that 80s touch, the way that Goonies and Back to the Future leave you feeling like you saw something uniquely special by the end of the credits. Highly recommend for good fun, a heartfelt story, and good music.
The Heavenly Kid. You never know who's looking out for you.
This next movie has the lowest box office numbers out of everything on this list. It only earned about $600,000 during its theatrical run, but luckily it had heavy rotation on cable TV on networks like HBO and Showtime. I am such a huge sucker for movies that have plots revolved around one single crazy night. Modern Girls is a 1986 movie about a group of party animal women convincing their roommate's blind date to chauffeur them around the streets and club scenes of LA after he has stood up. Ultimately, the nightlife takes them on an unexpected crusade around the town. Some of the cast includes Cynthia Gibb, Virginia Madsen, Daphne Zuniga, Clayton Rohner, Chris Nash, and Stephen Shellen, as well as Pamela Springsteen for a small scene. I just wanted to include her because, hello, I am a huge fan of her in Sleepaway Camp 2. This movie is directed by Jerry Kramer, who is also a producer. He mainly did music videos, short films, TV and video documentaries, and specials. What's not to love? You have a talented cast of girls who really embody their characters, and the story is fun as heck. The club scenes are stylish, the cinematography of LA at night is beautiful, and yes, I'm gonna say this for almost every movie on this list, the soundtrack is incredible. This one might be the odd one out of the bunch, but I really needed to include it. Similar to Modern Girls, it gained notoriety. I can't say that. Notoriety through cable and local TV. This is a turn your brain off and enjoy the silliness that is the peak macho muscle man fantasy adventure movie of the 80s. The Beastmaster was released in 1982, about Dar, the son of a king who was sent away from being killed at the hands of a high priest. As a grown man and warrior, he seeks revenge on the killers who wiped out his village and his adopted father. With his telepathic ability to communicate with animals, he builds an animal alliance to take on his opposing forces. Some of the cast includes Mark Singer, Tanya Roberts, Rip Torn, Rod Loomis, Vanna Bonta, Joshua Milrad, and John Amos. Straight from the Wikipedia, a programming director from Cinemax stated that you can come into any part of it and not feel like you've missed much. Yeah, I mean, I had a good time with the meh acting, weird story, and really weird writing, specifically for the interactions between the two lovers. Like, two pretty bad actors equals zero chemistry. I have no idea how they were able to do that, but they did. And if you've seen this movie, you know the real stars are the animals. Let's be honest here. Check it out if you like cheesy fantasy movies. This movie was also a success at the box office, and I feel like people were going to predict this one on the list because of its massive cult following. And of course, yeah, I put it on here. I'm basic, but I put this movie on the list because it is a good movie, and despite the massive cult following, it still isn't talked about enough.
Night of the Comet was released in 1984 about two teen sisters who survived a comet sighting that turned everyone into zombies or complete dust overnight. Along their adventure, they befriend a boy named Hector and are sought out by scientists trying to use them for experimentation in order to create an antidote.
Some of the cast includes Catherine Mary Stewart, Kelly Maroney, Robert Beltran, Sharon Farrell, Mary Warnoff, and Jeffrey Lewis. It was written and directed by Tom Eberhart, and David Campbell was the musical composer. This movie carries itself so well because of its strong female protagonist and just a really well-written story. Not only are the serious themes about the apocalypse are handled really well, but it balances out lighthearted moments with the teenage girls just being teenage girls and breaking into a mall because, you know, nearly everyone on Earth is dead.
Do you have your MasterCard on you? No. Good, because you don't need it. The stars are open!
And the soundtrack is top notch. I was obsessed with it for the longest time. It perfectly captures that 80s flair with these artists. Here's the Neil Gaiman review of the movie that I want to include because why not? In 1985, he stated for the Imagine magazine, "It's one of the most amusing, witty, imaginative, and thought-provoking films I've seen that was made with no budget and is also cheap exploitation." You got all that? I have never heard about this film until I saw it, and you have probably never heard about it either, so let's talk about it. The movie is called It Takes Two, and no, it is not the classic Mary-Kate and Ashley movie. It Takes Two was released in 1988 about a man in a quarter-life crisis who is soon to be married to his sweetheart. He takes off for Dallas to use his savings on a sports car, where an encounter with a sexy saleswoman gets him scammed and he ends up in a series of mishaps. The cast includes George Newbern, Leslie Hope, Kimberly Foster, Barry Corbin, Anthony Geary, Francis Lee McCain,
Patricia Darbo,
and Marco Perella. This was directed by David Bayard and the screenwriting duo Richard Christian Matheson and Thomas A. Sholesy, who also wrote for the film 3 O'Clock High in 1987. The cinematography was done by Peter Deming and the musical score was done by composer Carter Burwell. Can't believe that they all came together to make something that is so bad it's good. It isn't perfect, and the main character and the story are not morally in the right, and it definitely oozes the 80s more cringier tropes. Like, you really gotta suspend your disbelief. Again, I'm just gonna summarize my Letterboxd review because even though this movie is bad, there was still a lot of things that I liked about it. This film is absolutely a male-centric, male-gaze fantasy story full of cars, sexy women, and neon lights of the city. The plot seems ridiculous from the surface, however, the story is the struggles of being young, exploring love and sexuality, and discovering individual needs and wants. The film shouldn't be taken seriously because the film doesn't even take itself seriously, and that's what makes it so fun. The performances by the actors are what really saved the film for me. The characters and dialogue were surprisingly comedic and super charming. I found the 1980s visual designs and settings of Dallas captivating. The way the film looked made me wish places still looked like that. Neon lights, retro buildings, and digital designs. This film is not for everyone, but you can admire something in this film, whether it's the dialogue, the 80s setting, or music. It's worth a look. As someone who's watched plenty of 80s films that's gone under the radar, this is my genuine opinion on a pretty decent film.
Or maybe it's actually not that deep and it's just a really, really dumb movie.
Sir, excuse... Hey!
Oh my god, this next movie. Where do I even start? It is so cute. If you are attracted to Cyndi Lauper or Jeff Goldblum or both, like me, then you need to see this. I feel like by the end of the 80s, everyone was trying their own hand at an adventure comedy film, which isn't a bad thing because let's face it, one of my most favorite movies of all times is Romancing the Stone, so I'm not complaining. So far, I summarized the movie plots for you guys, but now I think 80s pop icon Cyndi Lauper can do it for me. Take it away, Cyndi.
Put your hands on the screen and experience with me. I see two lovers. I'm surprised all women haven't tried to kill you. There's a mystery to solve. In a Rolls-Royce Corniche, the bar opens from left to right, doesn't it? There's a lot of danger.
There's no danger there, I swear!
If you're gonna start seeing things, go see Vibes.
Cyndi Lauper, Jeff Goldblum in Vibes, the psychic comedy that's out of its mind. Rated PG. Opens Friday at select theaters.
Some of the cast includes Cyndi Lauper, Jeff Goldblum, Peter Michael Falk, Googie Gress, Julian Sands, Steve Buscemi, and Ronald G. Joseph.
This was directed by Ken Kwapis, who did Sesame Street's Follow That Bird. The production company was under Imagine Entertainment, which was founded by director Ron Howard and producer Brian Grazer. And the musical score was composed by James Horner. Dang, so much good talent was involved in this project. Here is a review from the Wikipedia by Christina McKenna for the Los Angeles Times. The movie was described as romancing the Ghostbusters in the Temple of Doom. And yeah, they're right. The reason she said Ghostbusters was because Jeff Goldblum's character was originally going to be played by Dan Aykroyd. It is a good movie with really good chemistry between Cyndi Lauper and Jeff Goldblum. The only thing I need to point out is that the ending kind of stretched way too long for my liking. Other than that, you need to go check out this movie.
Vibes.
I feel like people who really know me are going to expect this movie on the list. It has a cult following that has grown over the years and just keeps on growing. However, just in case if you haven't heard of it, this is Earth Girls Are Easy. It was released in 1989 about a woman who seeks to reinvigorate her and her fiance's romantic and sexual life. In an obvious twist, she finds him cheating on her. And that's not where all her worries ends when a trio of aliens crash lands into her backyard pool. And they're looking for female companions. After learning the culture and language through TV, and a makeover to make them appear human, they are ready to party in 80s Los Angeles. The casting was just so... chef's kiss. You got Geena Davis, Jeff Goldblum, Julie Brown, Jim Carrey, Damon Wayans, Michael McKean, and Charles Rocket. It was directed by Julian Temple, a film, documentary, and music video director. He worked with bands such as Judas Priest, Sex Pistols, Depeche Mode, ABC, The Rolling Stones, David Bowie, and many more. The screenplay was inspired by Julie Brown's 1984 EP Goddess in Progress. Go listen to it. And she had a hand in writing alongside her frequent collaborator, Charlie Coffey, and her then husband, Terrence E. McNally. And speaking of the music, the soundtrack is out of this world. Yeah, I know that was cheesy, just let me have that. There's so much to love. There's aliens, there's dancing aliens, aliens singing, aliens doing it. This movie is weird. It is silly. It is charming. And it is really campy, and I love campy movies. You will definitely have a good time.
Earth Girls Are Easy.
I want his baby.
And that is my pick for the 9 underrated films of the 80s. If this goes well, I really wanted to make my list of my favorite 80s horror films for October, which I probably am likely to do. I mean, no, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna do it. Remember to subscribe if you like my content and love all things 80s, and leave a like because it really helps me out, and don't forget to ring that bell so you can be notified of all of my future videos. I hope you all have a good week, and remember to take care of yourselves, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!
Come see the difference at Major Video. lots of kids stuff for us.
One of the largest selections, 32 different categories.
See it. What a difference.
And we can rent them for 3 evenings. More videos. More selection. More fun.